And hello, all of you car lovers out there, and you are tuned into the C&C Auto Show, and I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we have a goal, and our goal is to give you some sweet information that will make that car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in or logged in. We really do appreciate you jumping on board and riding with us on the C&C Auto Show. And we are here to take your phone calls at 706-863-5800. And that's from 8:05 to 10 Eastern Time on Saturday mornings, of course. You can watch the show live at the same time, or you can watch past shows, or you can also email your questions anytime. And that's at ccautoshow.com, and, of course, at ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. And we have a great show, a fun show planned today, John Ryan.
What you got for us today?
You already know, I told you.
Yeah, but I already forgot.
It is sounds and smells.
All right.
We are talking about the different sounds and smells that a car makes, and a lot of times, as you're either listening or smelling for these different smells,
yeah, you
can spot problems early.
You can.
And a lot of times, if you're able to spot these problems early, it can save you a lot of money.
Yep, it sure can.
And, of course, it's possible it could save you from breaking down also.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be talking about different sounds and smells. And if some of you have a sound or a smell that you're not quite sure what it is, you can give us a call, and we will shed some light on what may be going on there. Now, also, we'll have a lot of great car tips going on. We'll have our Tailgate Talk with Dominic. And, of course, we have a tech tip quiz. And I really think it might be a good idea to go ahead and lay the tech tip quiz out early.
Okay.
And that way, if someone has the answer to that, we can go ahead and get someone in their I answered the tech tip quiz golf shirt.
There you
go. Because that's one of the things you'll win, along with some other items that goes along with that, a hat or a coffee mug, some other little goodies that's in the little prize package that we have. And here's the question. James Weston owns a 2008 Buick Lucerne. He had an engine torque mount installed, and after picking it up, he pulled into his driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned that he waited a little bit to go in because it was pouring down rain, and as he was sitting there, he felt the car just started rocking back and forth.
Mm.
And so he wasn't sure what it is, so he called me.
Okay.
And I did talk to him on the phone, and there was a hint that he gave me that made it to where I could tell him what was wrong with his car. And I told him to check it, and he did, and he said, Aaron, you're right. Now, I'm going to have to mention that this was a true story.
Okay.
Happened 3 days ago.
All right.
So if someone knows the answer to our tech tip quiz today, you give us a call, and of course the number to call 706-863-5800. Okay, now what is some of the smells that you can have as you're driving?
First one that comes to mind is the oil burning smell. Typically smells like, of course, burning rubber sometimes, burning plastic. Most common concern would be I smell something burning.
Yeah. And what would you say one of the more common smells, when you're smelling something burning, what does it turn out to be many times? What would be?
I'd probably say oil or coolant or antifreeze.
I would say one of those two. And if it's oil and someone is smelling it, especially if they're seeing a little bit of smoke to go along with it,
right,
I would say that more often than not, it is something like a valve cover gasket leaking directly onto an exhaust manifold.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with that type leak, someone may say, well, I'm not seeing any on the ground.
Right.
But one of the reasons they don't see anything on the ground is because when it hits that hot exhaust manifold, it just sort of bakes it onto the manifold.
Yep, and it never makes its way all the way down.
So when you take your car in to see the technician puts it on the rack, and they really don't see that much oil on the engine,
Right.
but they'll see it baked all over the exhaust
Yeah, a lot
manifold.
of times the exhaust will kind of have black marks on it from where the exhaust or the oil's been hitting the exhaust.
Yeah, and short term, that immediately is not a reason to say, well, I have to get that right away, or I'm gonna have this major problem. But it is something that you want to get taken care of because it will get worse. And what happens with different oil leaks when they once it gets bad enough to where it goes on other items besides the exhaust manifold? Is it gets on a lot of the rubber parts.
Yeah, especially radiator hoses, heater hoses.
CV boots,
Yeah,
power
exactly.
steering hoses, even coolant hoses. But that oil gets on those items and it makes them soft and mushy.
Yeah, it really cuts their
And then they tear.
lifespan
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
At
So
least.
next thing you know, you're having to buy a CV boot. You're needing coolant hoses. You're needing different
And then
power
a lot of
steering
vehicles,
hoses.
of course, have a wiring harness that sometimes can be in a convoluted loom. And of course, once the oil fills that up, I mean, regardless, it's still going to contaminate some of the wiring.
Yes, and that can cause some very unusual wiring issues.
Yeah, and
So
and
if you
problems,
do
yeah.
smell oil, if you smell like a burnt smell on your engine, it's a good idea to have it checked out and find out if it needs to be done right away or if it's something you can wait just a little bit on, or what would be your best route to go as you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to you don't want it to cost you more money later on because of that.
Right.
Another noise that you can hear under a hood from time to time is like a hissing noise.
Mm-hmm.
And the hissing noise can normally be one of a couple of different things. It can be a vacuum leak.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of times that vacuum leak can cause the engine to run bad. It can cause the engine not to perform very well.
Yeah. So like a whistling noise.
Yeah, but another hissing noise that you can get that can come in can have to do with a coolant leak.
Yeah, especially when the vehicle's off, if it's
Yeah.
still hissing.
If the engine's warmed up and you hear like a hissing noise, you would want that addressed pretty quick.
Yeah.
And of course, if you hear something like that, you want to immediately go ahead and turn and look at your coolant gauge as close as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Let's go to the calls.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes before our break. Let's get
Let's do
Patricia.
it. Hey, Patricia, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with? Patricia, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
I'd like to answer the tech tip quiz if I could.
Oh, fantastic. Hold on, we'll put you on stage. Okay, you are on stage, and we are ready for your answer to the tech tip quiz.
Would it happen to be a broken engine mount?
Well, they had just replaced one mount. It was they replaced the strut mount on the top of the engine, and that, of course, takes the torque out of the engine, or
Okay.
keeps the engine from torquing too far. But one of the mounts was just replaced, and of course, they had checked all the other ones to make sure they were all in good shape. So it was not a mount. John Ron, do you have to do this to?
Oh, you've got your finger on the button. Oh, yeah. Seriously?
That's okay. It was strictly a guess.
I really didn't do that.
It
That
was a good
ju-
guess.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Patricia. We
All
appreciate the
right.
call.
Thank you. Y'all have a blessed day.
And you do the same. And we're talking about smells, and we're talking about sounds, and we're talking about cars. We're taking questions for the Tech Tip quiz, and also we, as it turns out, we're also about to have to take a break. Coming back, we'll talk about what might be causing a rotten egg smell, and we'll also be going to the phones. We'll be talking to Rob, and we'll be sharing more tips, all that and more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show.
There's something women like about a pickup man.
And we are back with you. Something women like about a pickup man.
That's right.
All right.
That pickup, not Prius.
Pickup.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I do fit more. I'm a Prius man.
No, you're not.
Yes,
You got to pick
yeah.
up too. I'll let you slide.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
See?
We do. Okay. It is. We're back with you with the C&C Auto Show, and if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you just lay it on us. That number is 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings 8:05 to 10. You can also email a question to ccautoshow@gmail.com. Oh, we have a question at that that was sent to us on that too.
Okay.
And if you have a spring or summer trip planned, don't forget to have those hoses and belts checked out. They're number one on the list of preventative breakdowns. And if you need belts or hoses, I recommend getting the best. That's Napa hoses and belts. Now, we'll talk a little bit about a rotten egg smell. And it shouldn't be ignored because it likely indicates a poor running engine.
Yeah, it does.
The catalytic converter gets blamed a lot, I guess. But
Yep.
the catalytic converter, if your engine is running too lean or too rich,
yeah.
it can cause the inside of the catalytic converter to overheat. Now, that does produce a smell.
Yep.
But with that, it can also eventually melt it down on the inside.
And cause it to restrict, yeah.
So if you have unusual smells like a rotten egg smell, it's a good idea to have it checked out.
It is, yeah.
Okay, are we ready to go to the calls?
Yeah, I think you should read the tech tip before we do. That way maybe Rob has
Oh,
a
you
chance
do
at
want to
it, too.
read? You do want to read the tech tip quiz
Yeah,
one more
I
time?
think it's a good idea.
We ought to be able to do that. James West owns a '08 Buick Concern. He had an engine torque mount installed, and after picking the car up, he drove the car 10 miles to his house. Since it was pouring down rain, he waited a moment or two before he went inside. As he was waiting, he could feel the car just started rocking back and forth.
Okay.
He called me, and he told me the whole story. And after hearing the whole story, I told him what it was. He double-checked it and called me back and said, Aaron, you are right. How did you do that?
All right.
But I'll go ahead and mention that the story that he told me, which was included in the one I just said, there was a hint in there that made me be able to solve the problem.
All right.
Okay,
Let's go over to Rob here.
Hello, Rob. Welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? I was going to take a shot at the tech tip.
Ooh, okay. Hold on. We're going to get you up there. Okay, Rob, all eyes are on you, and we are ready to hear the answer to...
Okay, nothing like putting the pressure on, right?
That's right. The pressure is on. I see sweat on your forehead.
Nothing to it.
Okay, we're ready.
The reason I'm saying this is 3 days ago, my wife put on Facebook that her truck was really rocking.
Uh-huh.
And it was because of a thunderstorm that was going through the area.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing he pulled in the driveway and he turned broadside into the wind and it started rocking his vehicle.
Now, Rob, you are getting a little bit close. And I will say that weather did have something to do with it.
Okay.
But that's not the answer.
Okay.
But, Rob, very good try. You made it easier
All right.
for the next person, I'm going to tell you. Okay. So if someone has the
All right,
answer to the
appreciate
tech, thank you. If someone has the answer to the tech tip quiz, give us a call. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, you can give us a call. And you can also send your questions in to the C&C Auto Show. That's at ccautoshow.com.
You said you had one we were going to read, right?
Well, I do have it, but let's see what we have here.
Somewhere in that
I'm going to let
stack.
you read it.
I can't read that.
Okay.
You're crazy.
This is a longer email, so we're going to wait a few minutes.
We'll
condense
put that
it.
one on Cliff Notes
Yeah.
on the next break.
We will get that one on the next one. Okay, we will mention one of the next noises that we'll talk about has to do with clunks while you're driving. If you hit a bump or a pothole or it's something like that and you hear like a clunking noise,
Yeah.
then that's a fairly common noise that people describe.
Yeah, it is.
What would you think some of the more common things would be?
Well, probably I like to say, of course, sway bar mounts or sway bar inlets.
That's
just
one of the
because-
more inexpensive
Yeah, they're
things,
more
and it is pretty
inexpensive.
common.
And I would say they wear out a little bit faster than say struts or,
They
or
do.
control
I
arms.
think they wiggle a lot more. They're
They do.
got a lot more movement because every even small
Yeah, I would
bump
say
that you hit, they move.
I would say they're in motion pretty much 100% of the time the vehicle is.
Yeah.
So that, of course, ball joints, depending on what kind of front
That's
end this
one that
vehicle
popped
has.
into my head.
Yeah.
Ball joints.
And then, of course, tie rods. Tie rods do make noise, and sometimes you can actually feel some play in the steering when the tie rods get, of course, wear on them. But I think that would definitely cause some clunking
But I
noises.
think a clunking noise should be on the list of things that you should have checked out fairly quickly.
Yeah, because you never know. It could be a ball joint that's about to separate or something
Exactly,
like that.
or a tie rod in or something. And when you're having to do with the suspension or the steering.
Right.
Those are safety items.
And of course, it goes without saying, years ago, grease fittings were on everything, and you could grease a joint, and you never really heard it squeak or get bad or anything like that. And then, of course, you would grease it up, it would be quiet, and then it would fail on you. Well, now that they're basically non-serviceable. So if you hear squeaks in the suspension, also that's something you want to kind of take a look at.
Yeah. So if you hear a clunking noise when you hit a bump, have it checked out. It may not necessarily be something you have to have repaired right then, but you do want to know what it is, because you don't want to take that chance on something failing while you're driving, and especially anything to do with suspension or steering.
Right.
Let's go to the calls.
Yeah, let's try Bobby. We got a minute left.
Hey, Bobby, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Good morning. I have a 2013 Dodge Journey. I'm having an issue mainly when it seems like accelerating or going up a hill, I get a miss, sort of say, like it sputters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I went through and it's got 60,000 miles on it, and I put in new plugs and new the plug coils.
Okay.
Thinking, it's just been a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just that didn't solve my problem. So I was just seeing if it might, and I've let it run almost all the way out of gas, as far as down to where the light came on, then filled it back up, and then I still had the same issues.
Okay. Hey, Bobby, you gave us some good information. We got to go to a break. Do you mind holding?
Not at all.
Okay.
Okay, we are going to take a real quick break, and as soon as we return, we'll be going right back to talk to Bobby about the issue that he's having with his vehicle. We'll have more tips, and then shortly after that, we'll have our Tailgate Talk with Dominic. That and a lot more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show.
Well, I'm not bragging, babe, so don't put me down. But I've got the fastest.
Welcome back to the C&C Auto Show, and we have some tips. We have a tech tip quiz laying on the table. We have a Tailgate Talk coming up, and we are also talking to Bobby. Bobby, welcome back to the C&C Auto Show.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, now you mention your issue. Mention your issue one more time that you were having with your vehicle, since we had to take a quick break.
It mainly started when I was going, say, up flowing wells over here, and then I sort of got a sputter, miss, and then it clears out.
Mm-hmm.
Then each time I go somewhere and I'm going more when I apply gas, and then it sputters and misses again. And it does it quite often. Like I said, I was just having to be coming back from Charlotte, and it was doing it more. So I did replace, when I got home, I replaced the plugs, and I replaced the coil packs that's on top of it.
You replaced all the coils?
Yes, sir.
You spent some jack, didn't you?
Well, it was just it was a 60,000 miles that I've never replaced anything on it. So
Yeah.
It's not like it was an issue, because
You wanted to show it some love.
Yeah, preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I did it first. Well, one person told me to do it because I thought it was one particular coil. I took off the clip, and it bogged down a little bit, and then it wasn't the issue. So I plugged them up, and I did all four of them that way. And then that was before I replaced the coils. And then so I just went ahead and I said, well, I'll get 4 new plugs and 4 new coil packs. And then I let it pretty much run low on gas. And then thinking, because after it did it again, I let it run low on gas, and then I refilled it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Still had the same issue.
Okay.
I did take it to one of your local places and let them check the engine lights, because I haven't had no engine lights pop on yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they told me I had a code of like 300 or something like that on there.
Yeah, random misfire.
Okay, so it definitely does have a misfire then. That's kind of what I was wondering, is a lot of times transmission slippage can be kind of almost, of course it feels like a misfire, but being that you're setting a 300 code, that means the car's computer definitely sees a misfire.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, is it a very abrupt misfire? Like, is it running perfect, all of a sudden it feels like it cuts back and then does good again, or is it for a period of time?
just for like the abrupt period.
Okay.
As far as just more or less when I'm accelerating.
Okay.
Like a fish bite?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Bobby, ignition systems normally cut out very quick. It's something that happens almost immediately. If it was a fuel injector sticking or something like that, normally a fuel injector sticks and sticks for a while and or doesn't fire back again. So I do feel like there's something in the ignition system still, especially with it set in a 300 code. There's different things, like there's a crankcase or crankshaft variation learn on that particular car, but being that you're still feeling a misfire, I still feel like there's an issue. What a technician would do is put a scope in that vehicle and actually monitor all 4 firing lines of the coil and see, it shows what it's outputting, shows the gap time and the burn time, and they would see what cylinder is dropping out. Now, there's a little bit of a trick to a Chrysler vehicle because it doesn't necessarily have a parameter to show what cylinder has been misfiring and its history. Some vehicles, like a Ford, has a Mode 6 data, and it shows the history of basically what that cylinder's contributed. So Chrysler's a little bit difficult to find because you do have to have a piece of equipment, normally a lab scope, to actually find that in the ignition. And I still lean a little bit towards ignition just simply because it's an abrupt, basically power loss versus something that kind of slowly, gets worse and worse and worse to the point to where it runs really bad.
And Bobby, I'll mention one final thing. Of course, diagnostics may be needed.
Yeah.
But also, you may consider 60,000 miles. We do see a fair amount of carbon buildup inside an engine at 60,000 miles. Now, I agree with John Ryan. It does sound a lot more like an actual ignition system problem.
Yeah.
But if you do have a fair amount of carbon buildup, you can get a random misfire code. But it's normally not an abrupt type feel. It's more of a misfire that it just don't run smoothly.
Yeah.
But that is a possibility. But I believe that you may, before you spend a lot more money, you may be ahead to have a technician hook that vehicle up to a machine, make sure it's not running too lean, too rich, because you don't want to put parts on there that may or may not be needed. It sounded like you've done a lot of the things that you've done.
Didn't hurt anything.
Yeah, I'm not positive I would have replaced all the coils, but I mean, it's not a terrible thing. But anything else that you do, you may end up wasting money. So you may be ahead to get a technician to take a look at that.
Okay, yeah. 'Cause I was just, as far as I believe in preventive, as far as just like changing the oil, there's certain things you have to do when
of course,
your plugs and wires, and
yeah.
So.
And that what you've done so far is not a bad thing at all. You've pretty much did good, but the next step, I'm not sure if there's any one item that we could tell you that would cause that next step, other than an induction service wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, I'd probably be recommending that no matter what was found.
Yeah.
That's a BG induction service, so that would be worth thinking about. But anything other than that, I believe you'd save money.
The only other thing that I can think of that happens on that engine is the wiring harness goes around the cylinder head at a real sharp point and can rub the wires and cause the coil to not fire. But every one of those that I've ever seen actually sets a coil primary code, meaning like it's looking for the coil and it doesn't see it. So I don't feel like that's the issue either.
But that is a good point that John Ryan's got, though, Bobby, is go ahead and check for bulletins also. Because sometimes you may find a service bulletin that just says when you fill in a skip and the plugs have been replaced and this has been done, then we recommend check the wiring harness running behind the cylinder head for a scrape or something like that.
And then in that same print it says if that doesn't fix it, trade it in.
Well, and Bobby, that is a point there. Something else to think about. There are some that even say they've issued a new program procedure for that very reason. So it's I would have the bulletins checked before having that diagnostic test run, just to be on the safe side.
Okay. And I do think I have just got a bulletin on something for. I thought it said steering wiring.
Yeah, now that's a recall. Recall they would only send you if it's a safety item. A bulletin, a recall is normally free. A bulletin's not free, but it lets you know common things that happen to that particular type vehicle, and it can be very, very useful information when you're diagnosing a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
I do appreciate your help as usual.
Well, we thank you very much for the call.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, that's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And John Ryan, where will we be going?
Up next is Debbie.
Okay. Debbie, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning. I wanted to try to answer your question this morning.
Uh-huh.
The tech tip?
Yep.
Oh, you're going to answer our tech tip quiz. Okay, hold on.
I'm going to try.
Okay, we are ready for the answer to our tech tip quiz. It's laying on the table, waiting for your input, Debbie. What's the answer?
Okay. Well, the gentleman that called in a minute ago, you said it had something to do with the weather.
Yes.
I had a Highlander a year or two ago, and I had just gotten it, and when I came home, I told my husband, I said, my car is rocking. He said, your car is not rocking. I said, yeah, my car's rocking. Well, it turned out to be my windshield wipers.
Now, what were the windshield
car.
wipers doing?
They were going at high speed, and they were making my car rock.
Debbie, you are absolutely right. Now, the next family reunion that you go to, and are you going to wear your I answered the C&C Auto Show Tech Tip quiz there?
That's not optional. She
I
has
might
to.
just wear it around town to grocery shop. I could just
To show all of the family that you have arrived. You you are there, but you are absolutely right. At first, when he called me, and again, true story.
Yeah.
When he called me, I was worried about a car rocking back and forth after we had just worked on it. I said, "Whoa, this is not good."
Yeah.
But when he told me,
That's where that tire went.
but when he told me that he was sitting there and it was pouring down rain, it automatically hit me that he had to have his wipers on.
Yep.
If he was sitting there. And so I had felt that before on cars.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, the little Prius will do that.
A Chrysler Town and Country would do it too with
A
those
Prius
big
will
28-inch
jump
wiper
everywhere.
blades.
Now, John Ryan's mega truck,
Nah, it doesn't move.
which you got to get a step ladder to get in. Now, I doubt seriously if it'll rock. Matter of fact, you could run a bulldozer into the side of it and it probably wouldn't rock.
That'd be good.
But the Prius rocks when you have the wipers on, and you'll think something is wrong with it. So, Debbie, you are absolutely right, and we got to get a new crowd, man.
Oh, hold on, I'm getting one.
Oh, there we go. You're gonna look so awesome wearing that shirt, Debbie. I can just see it.
For sure.
Really nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, it's time to take a real quick break. And as soon as we return, we're going straight to the Tailgate Talk. We'll be back with more right after this.
Sitting in the back of a long white Cadillac.
And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. John Ryan, what happens a lot of times if people run their spark plugs too far?
They end up spending a lot of money.
On coils, ignition system
system.
parts.
Yeah.
It can build up a lot of extra carbon on top of the pistons, which is you almost, in some cases, never completely get out.
Right.
BG induction services makes it a lot better, but
For sure.
But there's so many things.
But
that,
yeah, you go from a 30,000 gap, say brand new, and then it's got 100,000 miles. It might be a 50 or 60,000th gap.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can imagine the coil brand new was only jumping 30,000. Now it's trying to jump a 60,000. It's doing double what it technically should,
Mm-hmm.
which of course makes the coil work harder and a lot of times can eventually burn it up.
Yep, it can burn it up. And
Some vehicles have, a coil per cylinder. So if you have an 8-cylinder vehicle, you have 8 coils, and they're not cheap.
And it's completely possible. Sometimes a coil can go bad, and if it pulls too many amps, then it can take out
Burn
a
out the
computer
driver,
inside the computer. So there's a lot of things. So if you look at your owner's manual and you discover that the tune-up is due, or I would recommend going ahead and looking at your owner's manual and finding out when it's due, or talk to your service advisor.
Right.
And find out when it's due for your maintenance tune-up and have it done when you should. And, of course, we absolutely love NGK spark plugs.
And like you said, Aaron, too, the manual's a good reference, but I can think of 1 or 2 engines that had a 100,000 mile interval and they actually brought it back to 50,000 mile because they were having some issues with it. It's normally on a turbocharged vehicle that they found out that the intervals aren't that, or they shouldn't go that long, mainly because every turbo system has a little bit of oil in the intercooler, and of course oil gets on the plugs regardless. So typically, like an iridium tip plug, they don't like oil. So they found that 100,000 miles was a bit of a stretch for one with a turbo.
So really, it's a good idea to talk to a good, knowledgeable service advisor that has some experience. John Ryan,
let's do tailgate talk.
We have a
I've been waiting
tailgate
for
talk. Yeah, I have too. I've been interested to know what it was going to be today. Dominic, do you have one?
I do, and I love it when a plan comes together.
All right.
You remember we had a caller on a previous segment talking about a recall he got on a Chrysler?
I do.
I was going to expand on that a little bit.
Uh-huh.
The recall is for cruise control systems on 2014 and newer Ram pickup trucks, and also SUVs, crossovers. Also, the Chrysler 300 and 200 sedans from 2015 up to present.
And that has to do with the cruise control?
It does. There is a wiring issue that'll cause the cruise control system to not disengage.
That's not good.
That is not.
Yeah.
Now, Chrysler says, in the unlikely event that this should happen, you can circumvent it by a hard application of the brakes,
and a prayer.
Safe application of the brakes, I would hope, and also shifting the vehicle into neutral.
Yes. Wow. And
They say a slim chance of it happening, but why is it a recall?
okay, where's the music, John Ryan?
Well, I mean, Dominic's got to get his instruments out.
Are you done?
Yeah, he's got them.
Okay. Oh, that just sounds. Okay, where are we going?
All right, let's go over to Terry.
Hey, Terry, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. Help us.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for
All right.
taking my call. I really appreciate listening to you guys every Saturday morning.
Well, we appreciate you listening very much.
I got a buddy that's got a
His
2000.
keyword,
My
Aaron.
friend needs
This guy.
Oh.
And I knew I was going to get it for saying that, but I'm telling you, it's not my Dodge.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Terry, what's the
He's got a
definition of Dodge?
Charger. He's got a Dodge Charger SE. It's got 170,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's having fuel delivery problems. You know, the car bogs out or it bogs down, and either has to pump the gas a little bit to kind of get it to level off, or the car just dies, and then he's got to start it up back over again to kind of get it going again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to maybe give him, I mean, he's going to have to take that car in for service, but trying to give him a heads up on maybe what it would be, a fuel pump or...
Right. So, Terry...
You guys just talking about the carbon buildup, you know, does he have fuel injector intakes that build up? I know in other cars, in a Toyota, I had to do it to my wife's car. I had to replace some. I can't remember exactly what they're called right now.
Right. Yeah, Terry, as far as the symptoms of it, is this on like a restart? Like when he goes to crank it up, he has to kind of convince it to run? Or is this while it's going down the road?
While it's going down the road.
While it's going down the road. Just
Convince
seems...
it to run.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Well, I mean, pat the gas, talk to it a little bit.
Okay.
So, Terry, basically what you're saying is it's losing power going down the road, and he has to convince the throttle to kind of keep running and everything?
Either that or it dies out. He has to turn
Okay.
the car off and restart it again.
Well, that particular vehicle, it wouldn't be uncommon to have to replace the fuel pump. Those fuel pumps do kind of get some wear to them, and they lose fuel pressure. It's kind of ironic. Matter of fact, I think we had one last week, almost same scenario. It was after driving for about 30 minutes, it would just gradually lose power. And what we found was the fuel pressure was at spec cold, and then, of course, as it warmed up, the pump got some wear and of course, would slow down to the point to where it was creating about half the pressure.
And they had to negotiate with it to
Yeah,
run.
we had to convince it to run. So that would be
gentlemen,
scenario.
For full disclosure, at the beginning of our talk, I told you I listened to you every Saturday morning. I was out of town last week, so I did not hear, and I apologize.
Uh-huh. We caught you, Terry.
Yes, sir. I'll have to get online and see if I can find that somewhere in the history of the program. And
But yeah, it does. I agree with John Ryan. It does sound a lot like a fuel pump. Now, a lot of other things can cause it,
Of course,
but a
yeah.
fuel pump can be verified because usually, even if the vehicle is running fairly decent right then, they can run a fuel pump pressure test and tell whether
And a
that
current
fuel
ramp
pump,
see
current
the
ramp test.
electrical
Those
side.
two tests would tell. But if the fuel pump on that vehicle has never been replaced, high probability it's going to have a lot of wear on it no matter what.
Yeah.
But doing a good test on it will let them know that there's no other issues that might need to be addressed at the same time.
And Terry, one thing I forgot to ask: does the check engine light come on, or is it not coming on?
I don't know that.
There was a Chrysler. I want to say it was a 300, might have been a 200, that would have a slight power loss, and then eventually it would shut off. And the upstream O2 sensor was actually shorted, and it would pull basically the reference voltage down and shut the car off. But normally that would set all kinds of codes and stuff like that. So fuel pumps are kind of odd. Sometimes they set codes for lean conditions, indicating that it's not pumping enough. But sometimes fuel pumps,
And other times they do good
don't do
until
anything.
boom, it cuts off and it won't go anymore.
That's right.
Now, let me ask you, said an upstream what? Upstream
O2 sensor, oxygen
O2.
sensor.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Gentlemen, thank you for your time, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you
Appreciate it,
very
Terry.
much, Terry. We appreciate the call.
Hey, John Ryan, can I jump in here real quick?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, you're talking about that one we had at the shop last week. Don't those have 2 fuel pumps in them?
They have a transfer pump because it is rear-wheel drive. It has a double, basically tank, and of course there's I guess a chamber in the between. And one, I believe it's the right side or the passenger side, has a transfer pump to fill the driver's side up, which has the actual fuel pressure pump in it. So you are correct. If for some reason, say the right side fuel was of course full and the pump side was empty, that could very well cause it.
And more and more vehicles are going to the transfer pump type. Jaguars, a lot of other vehicles have those now.
Hold on, I got to do something for Frito. Good job.
He's blushing.
Yeah. Little cutie thing in there.
Okay. All right, we are talking about
stupid stuff.
Okay, we're talking about sounds and smells that a car make. Okay, one sound would be a shrieking noise. If you hear that, that's one that you need to look at and make sure that you don't have a belt. Most commonly, when one makes a shrieking noise, it can very well turn out to be a belt making a noise or slipping or a tensioner.
And
or
belts
something.
a lot of times are something very that you really need to pay attention to, because if a belt's squealing, that typically means a fluid is on it. It could be coolant. A lot of vehicles we see that when the water pump bearing goes bad, of course, it can cause the belt to slip and cause some noise. And that's something you want to catch real soon, because, of course, it will overheat, throw the belt off, and you'll be on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's a very important item to catch. John Ryan, the time clock's on E, and we need to pull over for now, but we'll be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney, and our show producers are Dominic Frito, Sandy's waving, and Sandy Klein, and our technical engineer is Zach Llewellyn. And we would each and every one of us like to say thank you all that tuned in, logged in, and especially those that called in to ride with us on the C&C Auto Show. And hello, all of you wonderful car lovers out there, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we are both here to bring you some great information on car, truck, or SUV. We want to try to find ways to make it more dependable, make it last longer, for less money and less hassle. And we want to say thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in or logged in, and a really big special to all of you wonderful people there listening that want to call in and ask that question during the show, and all the great comments. And several are going on Facebook, watching live on Facebook and doing different things there. So we'd love to hear from you, and we'll answer those automotive questions. We're here to take your phone calls. Again, that number 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And you can also watch this show live at that same at the same time, or watch past shows, or you can email your questions all to ccautoshow.com. And this show is brought to you in part by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems and NGK Spark Plugs. And we are having a fantastic show. We're talking about smells and sounds that a car might make.
Yeah.
We have a tailgate talk coming up a little bit
Got all
later
kinds
in
of
the
callers
show.
coming in.
We got fantastic callers coming in. We'll share some tips. Why don't we go straight to the phone calls?
I think that's fair. Let's go to Steve.
Hey, Steve, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, I know you guys are talking about smells and sounds, but I've got a question about CV joint boots. Is that
Well,
good?
we're here for all type questions. That's just a little sideline part that we're working on as far as the
All
sound.
right.
We're answering all questions, so we are really glad that you called.
Okay, I just had a quick question. I've been changing the oil in my car for probably 25, 30 years, and whatever car I've had, and I was told a long time ago to spray the CV joint boots with silicone spray, and I've always done that, and they do seem to last a long time, I guess, to keep them from dry rotting so they don't crack. Does that do any good? I've always wondered, does it really help or not that much?
I believe it does, Steve.
I do too.
Absolutely. Silicone spray, of course, kind of goes in the rubber, saturates the rubber, and keeps it pliable.
Right.
Yes, I definitely think so. Matter of fact, there was a brand of tire shine that actually it was a water-based product, and it was actually deteriorating things that it was applied to, rubber. And then that's why most of the tire shines now have silicone, so that it actually, of course, lubricates and really kind of protects the rubber from deteriorating. So, yeah.
I gotcha.
And Steve, another thing that comes to mind, things that you do there as far as keeping those CV boots fall in line with the same reason that people should treat their leather seats inside their car.
Sure.
Because what happens is rubber products and leather products over a period of time get dry, they crack, and doing things like that.
Just because they're in the elements,
keep them soft and make them last much longer. I think it's a great idea, and I think and really the way CV boots are made now is if you keep the boot in good shape and keep the grease in, it's very doubtful that you'll have any problems with your CV joints. They'll last a lifetime,
Right.
in many cases
Right.
now.
There are some
Of all the
aftermarket
years
boots.
I've been doing it, I've only had 2 cracks, so I figured it must have been working.
Yeah.
There are some aftermarket boots that are like a neoprene plastic, and they kind of came on the market, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, and they were supposed to be a better joint, but even those, eventually leaked. And I think it was because it was a harder boot. I think, the more pliable rubber that you have is a better option. So I think what you're doing is a great thing, Steve.
I do too.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Great call, Steve. Thank you. Number to call, 706-863-5800. If you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And John Ryan, where will we be going to?
We are going to Billy next.
Fantastic. Billy, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, good morning, guys. You know all these problems with the car started in the Garden of Eden, right?
Okay. All right, what's coming?
Abel and Adam were walking by the Garden of Eden, and Abel said, "Hey, Dad, why can't we go in there anymore?" He said, "Because your mom ate us out of house and home." I got a 2016 Kia Sorento SX, and I drive. I probably put 600 miles a month on it, and I take it in and get it serviced like I'm supposed to. And when I get home, I get a thing in the mail telling me that I got to have an update on the transmission electronics. Should I take it right back in right then and get it done, or can I wait till the next service interval to get it done?
That's a good question. It's a little bit of a toss-up. The reason being is depending on how long it is, they might issue another one, and then you're bringing it back again. Typically, I would say try and get it back there as soon as possible, because sometimes that's a campaign. And of course, like you said, it's an update for an electronics, of course, what controls the transmission. And I would get it done just as soon as possible, because sometimes they're addressing an issue that may prematurely wear the transmission. So probably the sooner the better for me. What you think,
Is that
Aaron?
one of those transmissions that you can change and get into one of those fancy gears where it's like a little scooter? Or,
Yeah, like
you can put it on Echo or whatever.
Right, yep.
I just didn't want to tear it up because it costs too much money to tear it up.
You're right, for sure.
And what year model did you say this was, Billy?
2016.
Yeah. I probably would too, because you never know. There's so many transmissions are changing so much now.
Yep.
They're adding so many different gears inside the transmission, and so much more electronics. And sometimes they may issue a bulletin over something that can make a pretty large difference.
Yeah.
So just to be on the safe side with that vehicle. If it was an older model vehicle, I would say, yeah, just wait a good while longer. But with the newer type transmissions, I believe I'd go ahead and do it sooner also.
Right, is that a 6-speed or an 8-speed, or you know
Oh
what
gosh,
speed
Billy,
that is?
to be honest with you, I don't know what speed that one is. That might even be a CVT for all I know.
Yeah, I believe that one is a CVT, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is.
Yeah, which is it's turned out to be a really good transmission, but they are, I would say, relatively new. I mean, they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
But they're pretty much.
Nissan's been in it probably the longest, I would say.
But they're pretty much infinite speeds.
Yep.
I mean,
Right,
and
it's
I'm
a great
pretty
car.
sure.
You know, I ain't had no problems with it. Just I go get it serviced, get the oil change, get everything done, and then I get home, and 2 days later I get a thing telling me I got to bring it back in for an upgrade. You know,
and too, Billy, there's a reason for that. They, of course, once that vehicle is in a service center, it runs the VIN number and checks for any active recalls and bulletins that may be covered under the warranty.
Billy said, "Why didn't they tell me that?"
Well, the computer's 2 weeks behind.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
It might be in the Garden of Eden too. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Billy. We
Thanks.
appreciate the call. Okay, the number to call 706-863-5800. John Ryan, where will we be going?
Next up's Paul.
All right, Paul. Welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Yeah, I've got a Pontiac G6 hardtop 2006 GT that's eating tires.
Uh-huh.
I just bought tires 2,700 miles ago, and now they're bald.
Wow.
On the front.
Oh wow!
Do you have a teenager that borrows this vehicle?
Yeah, one wheel peel.
I do not. I drive it to and from work, and that's it.
Okay, Paul. This is just my thoughts. You can get different brands of tires, and not necessarily different brands, but different speed ratings and ratings for tires.
Right.
Yeah, but you'd have to have drag radials on it for it to wear out that fast.
And a lot of it has to do with how well they will grip the road. And I'll give you an example. A tire that may grip the road have very soft rubber, but you can drive it 185 miles an hour around a curve on I-20, but it will only last you about 20,000 miles. Other ones are speed rated for a higher rating and give you better tread wear. But
he's only went 2,700 miles though.
Oh, 2,700.
Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, 2,700 miles.
Yeah,
Right.
Paul, I guess
It's a 50,000 mile tire.
I want to ask you some stuff, but we are about to go to a break. Can you mind holding?
That's what I was saying. This could get very interesting.
Yeah,
we want to dwell on this just a touch.
All right.
Okay. We're gonna need to take a real quick break, and then we'll be coming back and talk to Paul some more. I'm looking forward to that. And and we'll also have a tailgate talk a little later in the show, and a lot more ideas and
coming up
tips coming up. We'll be right back.
Just an old half-ton short bed Ford my uncle bought new in '64. Daddy got it right 'cause the engine was smoking.
And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. And this segment is brought to you by Napa Heating and Cooling Systems. And we trust Napa Heating and Cooling System products for our wonderful customers. And you can trust Napa Heating and Cooling products for your vehicle also. Give us a call, 706-863-5800. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10. And John Ryan, this is a very interesting call.
It is, yeah.
Because I don't think I've heard tires last this shorter length of time, if we heard correctly.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Paul?
Yeah, let's go back to Paul. Paul has a Pontiac that he put some tires on 2,700 miles ago, and now they're worn out. Paul, my question is, where are they worn out? Are they worn out on the inside shoulder, middle?
No, they were evenly bald.
Wow, that's amazing. So evenly bald.
Down to the steel.
Down to the steel.
All
okay.
four?
Just front, I believe.
No, just the front.
Okay.
'Cause
Paul,
I bought my back tires a while ago, and they still have some tread left on them, but my new front tires went bald before the back tires.
And you have not loaned this car to anyone?
Correct.
Wow. Paul, when you had the tires installed, did you have an alignment done?
I did not.
Okay.
They said it might be an alignment, but what the guys were saying that installed the tires, because I already took the car back to them to get brand new tires.
Right.
And they didn't charge me for the tires, which
Okay.
was thankful.
Yeah, of
But
course.
they said it would be weird because if it was an alignment issue, there would be a pattern wear on the tires, and they said it was just straight across.
Right. Yeah, I mean, no doubt that's correct. But, if the toe is out either negative or positive in somewhat of an equal measurement, I mean, it still could, of course, wear the tires. It may not be like an exaggeration, but if it had 10 degrees negative toe, of course, you would see the tires, of course, would wear almost in an inward way. But if these are pretty straight and the toe's still out, it definitely could still affect the tire wear.
Does the vehicle drive really good?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe I would.
Did notice that there was they did notice that I had a small, power steering leak.
Okay.
And they fixed that.
Now, you mentioned they were going to replace the tire free. They're not going to go ahead and put both of them on the front?
They put the rear ones on the front to see if I'd have the same problem with the different type of tire that I had in the back.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good, yeah.
Okay.
But you did get 2 new tires is what Aaron's saying, right? They replaced both of them.
I was very grateful they didn't charge me for the tires. But
I believe I would go ahead and invest in alignment. I mean, if the car hadn't been aligned in the last year and a half, 2 years, you're not going to be wasting money. And I would much rather be sure that the alignment's good instead of taking a chance on eating away 2 more tires and then, of course, then doing it when an alignment is something that needs to be done from time to time anyway. Now, once you do that, I believe I would monitor those tires extra close because in that shorter length of time, you should almost be able to see rubber and
like
almost
spitting
smell
off the tire,
and hear squealing noises coming from the tires as you're going down the road for it to wear in that shorter length of time.
Because, Paul, we see weird things like that. Saying 3,000 miles, we might see like an extreme shoulder wear. Yeah. But normally there's a reason for it. Like the customer lives in a cul-de-sac and they make right-hand turns all day long, those kind of weird things. But 2,700 miles is very quick to wear a set of tires out.
And it is a good name brand tire?
Cooper.
Yeah, so they are. Yeah,
that should be good.
Yeah.
The reason I say that because I've heard of people having like a driveway completely resurfaced and then it raining and washing it away. I mean, so you want to make sure you get a good product.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but I think that would be the right thing. Go ahead and get it aligned. And Paul, one thing that's kind of neat about today's alignments is you can do a before measurement and of course print the specs out so that you could see it. And if for some reason it is out, give us a call back and we can kind of explain how that would have, of course, wore it out. For instance, camber, of course, would wear the inside shoulder of the tire out. If it's negative, positive, it would wear the outside. But being that your tires are wearing evenly, I'd just be interested to see what the alignment is for sure.
And, of course, most everyone gets this now anyway, but when you get the alignment, you do want a 4-wheel computerized alignment because on today's cars, making sure that the rear tires are in alignment
it draws a straight line from the rear tires for the front.
Is more important than ever, and that could play a part in what's going on. You could have a rear that's off, that's making the car
total toe
act
off.
like a forklift, and
because I noticed when they moved the rear tires to the front because those are brand new tires too. Because I bought the car with 95,000 miles on it,
right,
and I only have 110,000 miles on it. The rear tires were already down to the replacement nub.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd go and do the alignment. I would be proactive on it because that's going to be some high operating costs for that car if you buy tires every 2,500 miles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Time for a oil change and 4 tires.
I appreciate you guys' comments, and I was thinking about it, but I was thinking that it might be something else. But
well, do let us know what the outcome is.
Yeah, have a little sticker in the window saying my tires are due to be replaced in 3,000 more miles.
That would do it.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. John Ryan, you think we can do one more?
Yeah, let's squeeze one in. Let's say we got a minute and 30 seconds.
Let's do it. John, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Hey,
Hey guys, I'll just make this quick. Something for you to think about.
We're ready.
I was driving down 20 the other day, and I saw a couple old cars, and I would love to have an old car.
Mm-hmm.
I got to thinking about it. They tried it here recently with the little Thunderbird and the PT Cruiser. I think it would be a great idea if Ford and Chevy and so on came up with like a 2018 56, like a
Hey,
body and
I like that
everything, and
idea.
the interior would be exactly like a 56 Ford Crown Victoria.
Uh-huh.
But it would have the engine with all the electronics and, all that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
In other words, it would look like a 56 Ford, but it would be a, 2019.
Yeah, they've had the retro Camaros, the retro Mustangs,
yeah.
and all the other, a retro 55 or a retro 56 Ford or Chevrolet. Great idea, John. We'll be mentioning that. I do like it. I really do. Okay, we need to take a real quick break, and when we return, we will have a tailgate talk. Then we'll be talking to John, and we'll be making an announcement of something really neat that's going on in this area today also. Okay, that and more as soon as we return with the C&C Auto Show. And welcome back to the C&C Auto Show, Life in the Fast Lane.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, the number to call, 706-863-5800. And we that's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern. And we have a tailgate talk. And here it is.
Cool.
He loves those sound bites, don't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Dominic, what we got?
Uber has announced that they are suspending all self-driving operations in the state of Arizona. That comes off the heels of that accident that they had a couple months back.
Mm-hmm.
There is no word on whether they're making any changes with their California operations, but Arizona's being suspended and about 300 people are being laid off as a result.
Yeah. I think that accident set autonomous technology back a good many years because it proves how vulnerable we are when we depend on only technology to do stuff. And I think it's going to be to stand back and take a close look at what's ahead of us when we start moving in that direction. Now, there's so many more things happening now that has to do with autonomous type items now. There's some of it are just very good. There's people who can, as far as especially veterans, they're helping a lot of veterans with being able to actually move limbs with their mind,
right?
By thinking different things. And there's going to be a lot of good come out of it, but I think we may have moved just a little too fast on the autonomous cars. So, Dominic, was that our tailgate talk?
Yep, that's all I got for you.
You are the man. Okay. All right. I'm beginning to love those things.
Yeah.
They're really helpful. Okay, John Ryan, where are we going?
To John. Let's go over to John.
John, we appreciate you holding, and welcome to the C&C Auto Show. What can we help you with?
Thank you for taking my call. I was listening to your program earlier, and you had something about a Jaguar with a tank, fuel tank.
Mm-hmm.
I have an 89 560 SL Mercedes. I'm having the same problems. It'll crank up and go for a mile or so and just cut off. It'll crank right back up and go another mile and cut right back off.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll keep cranking right back up and going.
Mm-hmm. But that's a little rough on the starter, and plus it takes you a lot longer to get where you're going.
That's for sure. But this is kind of a play toy. This is not a everyday driver.
It's a Sunday car.
Until we figure out what's going on, I think I would stay off of I-20 for right now, or 285 in Atlanta, any of the really busy interstates. I think I would hold off on going there for now.
That or just kind of make sure you're going downhill more.
Yeah, or downhill. It really, yours could be a fuel pump, but really I'm more inclined to think yours is something really different.
Right. One thing that this is just completely random. Remember some of the older Mercedes would vapor lock? with the fuel cap. John, that would be something to try because, of course, that's absolutely easy to do. Take the fuel cap completely off. Just kind of keep it in your glove box or whatever.
That.
You did? Did that help or no?
Yeah. No.
Didn't change anything. So when it cuts out, is it like an abrupt cutout? Like it just like almost like somebody
it just quits.
Okay. What about check engine light on or anything like that?
No.
No check engine light. Okay. Because of course that does have a crank sensor. That's one thing that could cause it. There's a sensor on that vehicle that monitors the RPM and of course kind of lets the car's, I guess, brain or computer know when to fire different things, the injection and the spark and all that. So that would be one thing that I would, kind of feel
what
like
year model
be
did you
something
say
good to
this
check.
was, John?
89.
Yeah, 89.
The
John,
last year of the little Mercedes.
Right.
John, what I would recommend, there are so many different temperature switches. There's some relays that having to do with the computer on that model.
Yeah.
What I would recommend you do is find a technician, and sometimes that might be at a regular shop. It might be Mr. Brown that's been working on them for many years
in the backyard
and knows about those. But you need to find someone who specializes in those 89 Mercedes because a lot of that technology changed rapidly of how that is. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the new technicians, they would be completely lost and wouldn't even have a piece of equipment to hook up to that car to tell you what's wrong.
Right.
But many people many technicians who have been working on those years and years,
They may know the issue right off the bat.
Exactly. Those cars have a lot of pattern failures.
Yeah.
And my guess is that person's going to be able to tell you, there was a relay on that model that used to go bad. I think it's like a fuel relay or something like that.
I think it was injection control relay.
Ejection. I think you're right. But that a technician that specializes in those, that's been working on those year model Mercedes, would more than likely be able to say, that's what it is. Let's stick it on there. I would recommend finding people with similar cars to yours, finding out where they go to for a person who's got a lot of experience in that year model, and I believe you would probably save a huge amount of money instead of just going here and there to try to find a later model technician to work on it. You're probably not going to find it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
86 to 89 is the same, and I have more than one of these cars. And after they sit up, as long as you drive them kind of regularly, you don't have that problem. But when they sit, then they'll crank right up and go, but they don't, and they keep doing that. And I'm trying to figure out what's causing it to do that. But
I think that one may have a fuel distributor on there.
Might be, yeah.
And you may even consider on these vehicles putting a fuel treatment in each one as you drive them. If you don't drive them a lot, keeping a fuel treatment, because you could have something in the fuel system that's sticking, and that may be causing you a problem. So once you have this diagnostic run, or you might go ahead and run a fuel treatment before you have the diagnostics run and just see if it makes a difference.
Okay. What treatment do you
We like
recommend?
BG, but of course you may find there's a lot of different brands that you can get.
Yeah.
And Napa sells a whole ton of different brands of fuel cleaner.
Yeah.
But BG is more of a professional product. You would need to go to a repair facility to get that. But you can also visit a lot of the repair, or parts places like Napa, and they would have a lot of different brands. Yeah, they're great people. Yeah, you may try that before you do anything else, just to see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the advice. Thank you.
Thank you, John. With it doing it on each one when they set up, that's what made me think about it. We're ready to go to the calls?
Yeah, let's squeeze James in.
Hey, James, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Hey, good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
We are doing lovely. We appreciate the call.
Good. Yeah, I got an easy question, I'm sure, for you guys. 2014 Toyota RAV4 SUV. How often should I be changing the coolant in that car?
Well, that is a good question. You said it's brand new pretty much, huh?
2014.
Yeah, that's still new to me. James, I think you're right there at it. On a new vehicle, I'd say anywhere from 3 to 4 years. After that, it really depends on how the coolant tests out. After that, hoses begin to seep just a little bit, let some air into the cooling system. And of course, coolant does break down. Years ago, there was a 100,000-mile coolant. Well, it started having problems at 50,000.
There's a lot of lawsuits to do with that coolant, too.
Yeah, so I think that was just more of a sticker on a jug. I would
General Motors coolant.
That's right. Yeah, Deck's cool.
Yeah, I know it crapped up one of my engines.
Yeah, it sure will. So yeah, I think you're prime time for it on your vehicle.
Yeah, I agree. Do it now, and then more than likely for the next one after that, about every on 2 years later.
Yeah, 2 years.
And then as the car gets 10, 12 years old, you may even concern every year and a half, 1 year to year and a half on doing it.
I've got 35,000 on that.
Yeah, I think prime time. Yeah.
Yeah, you're hitting about the right time. So yeah, I'd recommend that. And you're in Charleston, South Carolina, right?
Yeah, right. Is anything else I should look at doing on that vehicle?
As far as maintenance, of course, cabin air filter pops in my mind. You've done that one before? No, 30,000. Of course, maybe when it's 50, start thinking about trans service.
Just keeping tires rotated and keeping your oil changes and like you mentioned, cabin air filter and just going through the owner's manual. Some vehicles have different things, but
50,000 miles would be good to do a carbon service also.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. But those are great vehicles.
General Motors guy. My daddy bought his first Chevrolet in 1936. And my family's been the Chevrolet General Motors people since then. I've had Pontiacs and automobiles.
Wow.
And then he ended up with a Toyota. How about that, Aaron?
He did.
All right.
Okay. It's time to take a real quick break. When we return, we'll be going to more calls. We'll be having more fun. Lots more stuff. Soon we return with the C&C Auto Show.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around.
And welcome back to the C&C Auto Show. I want to mention something real quick, that's something going on in this area. And the reason I want to mention it on the show is because events are going on in different parts of the country about this time having to do with car shows.
Yep.
And I think they're absolutely wonderful. For instance, this weekend in the Augusta area, but actually it's more of
it's a national show.
National show is the Mustang Club car show. And they're actually having the show in Grovetown.
Yeah, not
Grovetown
far from us
Convention.
at all.
Yeah, not far from us. National show. They have roughly 300
they said 350
cars or more.
entries. Yeah.
Yeah, and cars will be coming from all over the country. We had Mike Anker last week. We had Steve Pruitt, and we have Don Blackstock was here with us last week, and they were talking about the Mustang
it was a week
show.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, or a week before. They were talking about the Mustang show coming up. I think in this area, there's Fairway Ford is one of the main sponsors.
Yeah, I believe they're having food out there, all kinds of stuff.
But all of these, whether it's dealerships, independents, or whatever that sponsor these car shows, we really appreciate that. That comes from the C&C Auto Show, because that helps keep the interest and the love of cars alive. And that's what this show is all about, not only to help people with their car problems, but also just to keep the love of cars out there.
Yep.
And so we really appreciate it. Okay, where are we going?
All right, let's go over to John.
Hey, John, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, sirs. I have a 2016 Toyota Tacoma. It has a sealed transmission. You can't even do your own maintenance with it, and they don't even provide a dipstick, and that really irritates me. And
yeah,
I
they
told
might as
Toyota
well.
so.
They might as well
Pardon
put
me?
a sign. They might as well put a sign on there saying "Keep your hands off," huh?
I know, it really irritates me. My question to you is, they say that transmission fluid never has to be changed. Any competent mechanic will tell you much different. How many miles, I'm driving it just like on highway miles, no pulling, but how many miles can I go on that synthetic transmission fluid?
Well, that's great that you mentioned, how you drive it, because that is what depends or determines how quickly you service it. If you were towing all the time, in stop-and-go traffic, I would say in the 50,000 mile range. Being that you're driving it on highway, I would still stick pretty close to the 50,000. You could stretch it maybe 60 or so, just because, of course, you did mention it's a synthetic fluid, so it's not going to break down like a conventional fluid. But the cost of the transmission and of course, just knowing what we know, what we see all day long, I would still, service that at around 50 to 60,000.
Yeah, the warranty's out at $60,000. I'm going to bring it to you guys and let you flesh it out. That's a $5,000 transmission, and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, for sure.
And John, you are right. Most any technician knows that if you've got fast-moving parts anywhere at all,
fast is an understatement, really.
That you will get some wear from these parts. I mean, even a rock is going to wear down if water hits it long enough.
Yeah,
you're going to get some particles in that fluid, and eventually, it's a good idea to get those particles out. Now, the reason transmission fluid can be extended so long and engine oil cannot is, of course, you got combustion inside an engine.
Yeah.
And the oil's job is to hold those combustion gases that bypass the rings in it, and then when you change it, get them out of there. But with a transmission, the only thing that actually breaks the fluid down is heat, and that's the reason the interval varies depending on the driving habits and the type vehicle it is, because when you drive them hard, of course, the fluid gets hotter. And also some cars have better cooling systems for the transmission fluid. So there's a lot of factors involved on when you change the transmission fluid. But the things that John Ryan mentioned there is a very good rule of thumb for that type transmission.
Yeah, I stuck an extra magnet on the outside of the transmission pan just to help catch the metal fragments that would, happen over time and settle down in there. I'm going to have you guys take that pan off and clean those out when I bring it in to you. Mm-hmm. How much would you all charge me to flush that transmission?
Well, I'm going to mention something. I would not recommend taking the pan off. Breaking the factory seal is not a good thing. If
like
all
breaking
factors are, and plus Ford Motor Company did a study a good many years ago, and they, with a transmission that had 100,000 miles on it, the filter wasn't but 10% restricted. So in other words,
good,
if you keep the fluid in good shape, you would never stop up. And if you've got a stopped up filter now, you got a lot bigger problems.
And I could be wrong because that one, of course, is brand new, but most of them have screens in it anyways.
Might not even have a pan and might not even have a screen.
Right, yeah.
Might only have a screen and not a filter. So I wouldn't worry so much about the
But the magnet idea is cool. I've seen that a lot. That's great.
The magnet is not a bad idea at all because
they already, I think, have internal magnets. I just stuck an additional one on the outside.
But hooking the machine up to it, and it's a total fluid exchange where you're not just changing a little bit of it.
Yeah.
You would normally run about the 250 range.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Can I bring my own fluid also?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fine. Now, would recommend, and of course you would make sure it's the correct type fluid.
Yeah.
Because that's critical on those.
It's their world standard synthetic fluid.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That'll work.
Okay, well, one other thing. I noticed on those type of transmissions, it's got to be sitting level. It's got to be sitting a certain temperature to make sure you get the right level in there.
Mm-hmm.
With all those things considered, how long would that process take?
Oh, we normally like to keep those a few hours when we do those because once it's done, we like to drive them, recheck a few things. And, of course, some of it you're checking certain things with the scan tool when you're adjusting those and making sure everything's right. But the good thing about the modern flush machines is you put in exactly what you take out.
Yep.
So there's if it was correct from the factory.
Even the fittings have quick connects on them, John, so that you don't lose fluid. It's pretty neat.
Oh, and by the way, that's the reason they sealed them. They didn't want people taking a chance on overfilling the transmissions.
Yeah, they didn't want Dex 3 in a world standard transmission.
and doing stuff that wasn't good. And it's worked out pretty well, actually.
All right, guys, I'll see you in a couple of months then.
Thank you very much for the call. Hey, John Ryan.
Let's try and squeeze
Can we do it?
Let's try and squeeze John in.
Hey, John, welcome to the show. What can we help you with?
Hey, thank you. Quick question. I have a 2006 Chevrolet 2500 Silverado, and I was wondering if this truck has an air cabin filter.
No, it doesn't. I say it doesn't. I would say 90% of them don't, John. The Tahoe Suburbans did, and it's the same exact heater core, same box, same everything. I don't know why the trucks didn't get them. If you look under the dash, there's actually a square like where it would belong, but it's not cut out. It's crazy. It's the exact same box that's in the Tahoe and Suburban. But not in the truck.
They were preparing for it.
Well, it would be beneficial in the truck. Most of those were work trucks and dirty inside. But so yeah, no, I want to say 90% positive it does not have one.
But what you can do is buy a pack of those things that you get at Home Depot, those dust masks.
Respirators.
Yeah, and you could have a box of them on the seat, and everyone can put those on that rides in the vehicle, and you can kind of filter it that way.
Yep, that'd work.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Happy motoring.
Thank you. I don't think he liked my joke.
I actually saw him roll his eyes.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
hold on, he's calling back. Hold what? Oh, that was it.
I know it was. John Ryan, the show was about sounds and smells. We didn't get to cover that many items about sounds and smells during this hour, but I had a great
time. Well, what we want to do is not important.
Well, we may even cover some more next week having to do with that, because we just had a great time. Wonderful show.
A lot of good calls.
But the time clock is on E, and we need to pull over for now, but we will be back on the road in no time. I'm Aaron Clements with co-host John Ryan Mooney. And our show producers are Dominic Frito and Sandy Klein, and our technical engineer, Zach Llewellyn. And we would all like to say thank you to all of you that tuned in, logged in, and especially all of you that called in to ride with us on the C&C Auto Show.
All right.